Good morning, everyone. This morning, we're going to be focusing on a product called Microsoft Teams. Not a lot of our schools use Microsoft as the platform. A lot more use Google as their product. So if you're here to just listen and learn, that's great. We have Maria Salerno and Laura Pita from Good Shepherd Academy in Nutley who have been using Teams. So they're going to share a little bit about what they know. And then I'll have a chance to get to know everybody else in the group. Have you used this before, or are you just listening to see what might work for remote learning next year? I'm going to begin, as we always do, in prayer. So I'd like us all to put ourselves in the presence of the Lord, and we'll bless ourselves and pray together. In the name of the Father,
and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Mary,
friend
and
mother to all.
Through your Son, God has
found a way
to unite himself
to
every
human being,
called
to be one people,
sisters
and
brothers to each other. We ask for your help
in calling on your Son,
seeking forgiveness for the times when we have failed to love and respect one another. We ask
for your help
in
in obtaining from your Son
the
grace we need
to
overcome the evil
of
of
racism
and
and to
build a
just
just
society. We ask
for your help in following your Son,
so that
prejudice and animosity
will no longer
infect
our minds or
our hearts,
but will be replaced with a love that respects the dignity of each person. Mother
of the Church,
the Spirit of your
Son, Jesus, warms our hearts.
Pray
for us. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So these lesson learned and Q&A sessions are exactly that. It gives people who've used it a chance to share the lessons they learned and tell us a little bit about how a particular tool supported them and their students. And then in the case of Laura and Maria, if there were people here from other schools who were using it, they might have questions. Like we were talking a couple seconds before I brought everybody into the room, that there's a thing called a class notebook. And so they were wondering how others are using that. So unfortunately, we won't be able to share that with them or with you. So Maria and Laura, I don't know which one of you would like to start out. Tell us a little bit about how your school got started with Microsoft and then how you came to use Teams with the students.
Okay. I'll start a little first, and then I'll let Laura talk, because we were mostly a PC school, and about 5 years ago we were deciding our middle school, we wanted them to be a bring your own school, so 6th, 7th, 8th graders. So we were deciding between, obviously we decided to go with PCs, Windows based. So that started it all. So then we wanted, we used Office. So we said Office 365. So we signed everybody up and gave them emails with Office 365. I had been wanting to try to get the learning platform in, and that took a while, but I started it this year with half of the 7th grade to get into Teams. So Teams is their learning platform. Instead of the Google Classroom, it's Teams for Microsoft, basically, to make it simple. And so we used it at the beginning of this year, tucked it aside, and then all of a sudden, of course, March, 15th happened. And so that day, that last day, I'm handing 5th graders emails and sending them home, and then the next week we're all implementing Teams, which includes the chat feature, video, sharing the screen, giving assignments, returning assignments. The grades could be linked to Excel, downloaded to an Excel spreadsheet. actually now it links to Zoom if we want. We could have it connect, you know, the domains or whatever. We didn't get that far yet, but it can be done, which is something I'm going to look into during the summer, so that we don't have those issues of somebody joining us that doesn't belong. You know, that may help with that, because we did have one issue this year with that. So we're hoping to work that in. And that's what, so far, that's how we got involved in it. And I mean, we like it so far. And Laura's used it most with the middle school teacher, with middle school 6th, 7th, 8th grade Spanish, social studies, and literature classes. So maybe she could talk a little more about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. And just so that you all know, Maria is the school's technology integration specialist. She teaches technology class, and she also works in the library over at the school.
Right.
So Laura, why don't you share a little bit about your experience?
Okay. So Maria and I had been toying with the idea, right? Let's introduce Teams because it sounds really good. We don't have Google Classroom. Everybody's into it. It's like, yeah, we're going to do it. Let's look at it. Now we're going to look at it, you know, Easter vacation or whatever it is. And that day comes along and it's all the teachers had one weekend. Okay, here, this is it, right? Your crash course. Do everything yourself. You got to be ready Monday, 8 o'clock, all the kids are logging in and you got to be ready to tell them what to do. I think it actually turned out pretty nice because we were forced to do it under such pressure that it's like, we got to find out everything because we know when the kids log on, they'll probably know more than we do, right? So it's kind of like, all right, I'm going to catch up to do what they're doing. One thing that we started off was, of course, there is a general. I don't know if it's the same thing in Google Classroom because I'm not familiar with it, but there is a general screen that you would post lessons to, right? So good morning, how you are, and we set up different classrooms for each teacher. So we set up, for example, a homeroom, and everybody would come to homeroom and take attendance for middle school. So you would have to check in the homeroom in the morning, say good morning, say something to the teacher. That would be your attendance, right? Everybody logged in by same thing as school. We kind of carried out the school day the same thing as it would be. So by 8:40, everybody has to check into homeroom. And then you go to your first period. So every class has their own class on Teams to do their assignments. And you start with the general tab, which is for you to put assignments, post things. And that got, by Wednesday, I was going insane already because of course it just keeps adding to it, right? So every day you're at, and it's like, oh my goodness, they asked me a question. When is this? Like, I got to scroll up to see who's in the class and who's not. So you can set up what it's called the channel. So I ended up setting a channel under the general per day. So it's, Monday, June 15, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they would have to check in under the channel for that specific day. So under that channel that day, I would post the assignments or the link to a Zoom meeting or the invitation to a Teams meeting, which is kind of like this. They had it with 4 people. Now they upped it to 9. So you can see 9 people at the same time if you want to do it right on Teams for the videos. And it just, everything stays there. So that was a helper. The same thing with the assignments. So I would do it on channels. It shows up on the general tab, which means that all the kids would get it. It would pop up on their screen as there's an assignment, and it would also be on their email, linked to their email. So their email would say your teacher has posted an assignment for social studies, for example. Or if you send them an individual chat message, you have a chat from Mrs. Pita, you have a chat from so-and-so, it would show up on there. So it would be 2 reminders, their email, and then of course their chat screen on Teams.
Laura, would you feel comfortable sharing your screen to show us what it looks like? Because if you've never seen Teams before, and honestly, I just saw it for the first time this week, so it's hard to imagine. But when I saw the screen this week, it makes it easier to understand.
Okay. So when you log in, this is the screen that you go to. So in this case, it has all the different classes, right, that I'm in, for example. So you scroll up and you choose whatever class you want, right? So let me see if I have. Do I have the homeroom here? I'm trying, as you touch it, it's gonna assume that you want that class to be first, so it kind of moves the icons. So for example, if I clicked on homeroom, and this is what I was talking about, right? It has a general tab in there, and then my messages, right? So this is the case, we had a prayer service and everything else, and then I did the day of the week. So here's everybody checking in for the day of the week. Good morning, how are you? Everything else, see you next year, whatever it is. So each day you would go in there. And what I would do, can everyone see the 3 little dots?
Mm-hmm.
If you click on it, you can delete it. so that I only had the current date available, especially for attendance. For the other subjects, I kind of left it that week. That way they could go back and refer to something that was done, say, the day before, for example. So if you want to click create a channel, I want to do another date. I'm under general. Go up to my little icon. Go down over here to this cube. It says go to apps. On apps, I'm going to click on channels. And it's going to ask me for a channel name. So we want to create a new channel. Let me just minimize this. So we're going to do add channel, right? And for example, I want to create one for today. So I would put in Thursday, June 18th, for example, and it's going to go right underneath. So add channel, and there it is. And I start new conversation. So everything from the 11th, it's still there, and I just start a new one. So I can post a new assignment here, and everyone will still get it. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
So what are some of the things that you like to use? I saw a lot of options under that button. What have you tried?
For this one, for under the app button, so you had channels, you have Google, right? Like you have Google Forms, for example, for tests here, same thing. You have Microsoft Office Forms, so you can create your teams. OneNote for every, this is what we wanted to know about the notebook that everyone could collaborate.
Oh, okay.
One that we did not actually get to use, but you can send praise, you can do SharePoint, share something at other, when you're doing assignments, you have two options. You can either share it so they can edit it. For example, I would post a link and the students could go there and edit, or I could post it so everybody can get it, but they have to create their own. So if I wanted to post a test and have it kind of like a PDF view, but it's not, it's a Word view, they can copy and use it, but not edit it, that was available. Or you can put up a worksheet that they can all edit on their own. You can do the same thing.
Okay.
So over here, activity, this would come up every time something happens, somebody sent you a chat or an assignment is posted, you get a little red light in here with the number 1, 2, whatever it is. You have your chat, right? So you can chat individually, in groups, whatever it is. The teams, which is a screen that we started on, and then I want to see all my teams, so click on all teams to toggle and then choose which one I want to go to.
And is all teams for the entire school or just you and your
Just my
students?
classes.
Just your classes.
Just my classes, yeah. The assignments are sorted by the classes that I have. So if I click on assignment, it's going to ask me to choose which class. And once I choose the class, then I click next. Well, this one I probably don't have anything, but I click next and it'll bring me to the screen. So I have drafts if I came up with anything. I don't have anything. Everything that's graded. And then of course, if you want to look at your graded assignments, everything is listed here. Okay. And to create a new assignment, you would click on create. So you have the opportunity from an existing assignment already, a quiz, which would be the forms, or a regular assignment, right? Title, instructions, attachments. You can add a rubric for a project or for grades. When is it due? Is it all for students, or maybe you're only assigning it to a certain number of students because they need to catch up on something or they're doing something extra credit. Due date, due time, and then the default is to post it into general, and you can edit it to post it anywhere else if you want a specific date. I liked leaving it in general because if you left it in general, everybody got a message that they had an assignment. If you post it just on the channel, they don't get that assignment, that message. And if I delete that channel because it's next week, they won't be able to see it anymore. Under general, everything stays there until you, the teacher, delete it.
Oh, that makes sense.
So they can go up, and, so if they were absent or if they were sick that week and they didn't go, they can always go back and check. It will show up on their assignments anyway, but they can always go back and check for any communication that went on general as well.
It looks like Microsoft really thought through a lot of different things to make the teacher's life easier.
Yeah, the calendar I didn't really play much around with. And then of course here you have your calls, right? Your files. So if I had, let's see. If I want to call, so somebody here, we can see the icons, right, for calling.
Mm-hmm.
Call me.
Another student can call you. I know, I can call you, right? So you can either video call, regular call, or share screen with that person. Either one is available.
Is the video call like Skype or something else?
The call is right on Teams itself.
Right on Teams, okay.
Right on Teams itself, yeah. So I don't know if it's gonna work. Let's see.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you
Right.
have two different
Now,
things
here I
at the
am, I'm
same
getting a
time.
call right now. I don't know if
So
you see
there you
that.
go. So I'll be calling Maria, and then she would be answering over there. And then if it's not available, you can leave a message,
Oh,
the
neat.
chat icon that you can still chat, share your screen, and any more actions.
Right now, I'll
Yeah,
hang
you
up.
hang up. Okay. Okay. And then it gives you call quality. If I had a call with students, for example,
Mm-hmm.
the little bubbles, you see everybody has a little bubble picture.
Mm-hmm.
It would show up all the kids who logged into the call. So for example, I have 20 kids and only 15 were there. I can just click on the bubble and it'll show me the names for all the students who were on the call. And I can say, oh, this student missed the call. They were not in the class, so they did not get this lesson through the call. So you can
So
always go
that's
back and
pretty
check that.
easy. So you're saying that's pretty easy even after the call? You could still
Even
check
after
that?
after you end the call, it will still show the little bubble and it will
Nice.
tell you all the names of the students who were there, the duration of the call, if any, all the chat. You can still go back and see any of the chat that was exchanged. Some of the students, sometimes their mics didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see them, but you wouldn't hear them. So that's still all recorded. You can go back to it at any time because the call stays under the general. So again, you can go back and see who went there, who did it. Everything would be there. Does anyone have any questions?
I could probably show the calendar if they want.
Yeah,
but-
so I'll
Oh, yeah,
stop
why don't
here
you
and
do
then
that?
Maria, you can show the calendar and show you did the Excel download, I didn't. If you want
Okay.
to do that.
Share screen, here we go.
And I don't see anything in the chat so far.
Sorry. Let's go to.
I mean, it seems pretty similar to Google Classroom. I think it's just a different renaming of different things, the assignments and everything else. Seemed
And
kind
so
of
if your
seemed
school
similar.
uses Office 365,
Right.
this might be the easier way to work with the kids, yeah.
And the same thing, right? Because Microsoft Office 365, they could share the document for Word, for Excel, for a PowerPoint presentation, for anything else. It still apply the same things on the share
For
screen.
example, this was the calendar that shows everybody's. I could see a lot of classes as an admin. Not all of them get posted. Actually, these are not everything. But so here's calendar. So if I go back, you can see this is where you can schedule meetings from as well. This is some of a lot of the teams and all the different meetings scheduled throughout. That was June, I mean. You can schedule calls from here. And this blank. You can add speed dial. You could group the calls. You could leave a voicemail. Down here is other features. So for example, when students, we can record our meetings as well, our classes as well if we want. They would end up in Microsoft Stream, okay? So this is one thing I wanted to find out about because, you know, there were one or two times when a student would accidentally start recording and then stop recording, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I can delete the videos, but I'm curious over the summer what I should do, and maybe I'm just going to shut down the video capabilities over the summer so that there doesn't have any issues arise. But
Maria, do you have an admin panel where you do that across the school, or does each teacher do that on their own?
No, there's an admin panel that I'm sure I would have to probably do that with.
Right.
Definitely, yeah. So this is where you can add other apps too. So someday when we add Zoom, we would have an app for Zoom here.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go back and show you something in, she wanted me to show you grades. Is that what you wanted, Laura?
Yeah, grades that you can do the export to Excel.
So this is where you head back to Teams and see all your teams. But just so you know, when you click on the 9 dots here, actually, I'm not sure what the official name is. I've been saying the 9 dots, and that's been working for the kids, but it leads you all back to Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Teams, OneDrive. So this leads them back to everything that's available online. There's Sway and everything else with Office 365. So let me go back into Teams.
Do you use the free version for schools, or do you have the paid version with Microsoft Office 365?
No, this is all free, yeah.
It is, okay, I
Yeah,
thought
it's all
so, but
free.
I wasn't sure.
So going back into the Teams, this was a really nice team, everybody. Lunch in the library. Just, I thought it worked out perfectly for me. I had fifth graders. I used to have them come in, help shelve books during lunch. So we ended up meeting during lunch, and that was one thing that I really enjoyed this year. So who should I go to? 7 computers. Laura joined my team for that because we had a combined assignment, social studies and our social studies and computers. So we were grading an assignment together. So when you go into assignments, and you go into graded assignments, if I open up, all right, let me go back. These are all the assignments. If I want to look at the final grades, first of all, if I want to look at the grades for each assignment, I just click on the each separate assignment. If I wanted to see all the grades to date in every assignment, I could go into grades, which this was nice at the end of the year. All my different projects here, Tinker, works cited pages. It will give you the grades across the board, and I can export to an Excel spreadsheet. This Teams you can also integrate with PowerSchool, actually. I don't believe we're going to do that because that's, I'm sure, going to be a bit complicated, but you can actually have it go into PowerSchool as well. There is that option, but we're not
Interesting.
anywhere near that yet. So this gives an idea of getting, you can see the grades all at once. This is the class notebook, which I know we haven't gotten into, and that's where there's a section that students can work together in one notebook. There's also a section where they have their own notebook. So I'm sure that would be a nice feature to look into. So especially during a class time, since a lot of times what happens is, you know, students may take notes in a class, but obviously with this system, it's very easy for them to send them to another student, turn it over and immediately send it to somebody else. So this may be the way to, like, all right, everybody's going to work on the notes together for a class, and maybe that'll be more effective too, where I'm not sure how that's going to work, but everybody can work on that live together in the class notebook in one section of it. So we haven't gotten into that.
That could even be interesting if kids are out sick or something like that. I could see a student being assigned to take class notes for that day for whoever's absent, and then
Right.
other kids could jump in and clean them up, and then whoever's out can come and look here. So that's really neat.
You know, but what we found, of course, already is people found the easy way to share documents. So it's a lot of things are starting to be shared, whereas before we used this, they didn't, you know, catch on so quickly. Let's put it that way.
Right, right.
And this files area is where teachers can post. Let's see if I put anything here. This is what everybody can see. So I had my assignment. Class materials is where a teacher could post general class materials that could be used by all. Okay. I didn't have anything for 7th grade this time. Then you can also post things that could be edited, not in class. Let me go back. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here.
This is helpful, Maria. Don't worry about it. It's just, it's nice to get an overview of what you found helpful here.
Anything in class materials isn't supposed to be modified by students, okay? Anything posted outside of class materials in the files section generally be edited by other students. As you can see, this one was edited by another student, okay?
Right.
But it depends where you put it in, whether it can be edited or not. Post area is where anybody can post to, students and teachers, actually. So as you can see, I posted an assignment, INR, she replied, and that's the general post area. either person could, student can chat in, or a teacher can post an assignment or anything they wanted to. This one I posted that we're meeting for a makeup class. Okay. So any type of teacher posting, and if a student wants to post a chat or something, they also could do that in this area.
Over in our chat here on Zoom, I'm just throwing in a link to alicekeeler.com. She's a teacher out in Fresno, California, and she works closely with a lot of groups. And one group that she started working with was Microsoft. So as Laura and I learned some things, by the end of the summer, the two of us may be much more able and dangerous with Microsoft Teams than we are today. But this link here, Alice has a couple of getting started with Microsoft Teams videos. So as Maria's saying, your school has to apply to get, I guess, free access. Is that how that worked? How did you get started with Microsoft Teams as a whole school? Did you have to register someplace?
Yes, we did have to register, and we did have our tech consultants do that for us. They just
Okay.
registered us. They did the initial sign up of emails, but after that, I pretty much have been doing everything else. So I'm doing a lot of the administrative learning as I go.
Right.
I have added some domains to ours, like Khan Academy. I connected the Adobe Spark. Somebody mentioned that at our tech integration meetings about Adobe Spark. So I signed us up for that through our Microsoft 365 accounts.
Oh, okay.
So I do have to go look into shutting off the video and things like that, archiving. That's going to be for me to look into and figure out.
Right. And what I also threw, this would be more for tech integration specialists and principals, but that's the link to sign up for Microsoft Teams. So it is a top-down thing in your school. It wouldn't be something that you would sign on up for as a teacher just by yourself. And just to share with you all, since Maria mentioned it, Adobe Spark. What Spark does is it's a free program that lets you create little images, web pages, and videos. And so when you go on to spark.adobe.com, you can sign in a number of different ways. And that's what Maria is saying. She was able to sign on with her Microsoft ID.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sign on with my Google ID because that's just easier for me right now. And what I liked about Adobe Spark is that if you wanted to have an image for your students, so it doesn't matter what program you're using, it could be Seesaw or Google, or I'm sure Class Dojo or something else could use these pictures. But if I wanted to create something really quick, I want to create a quick little flyer. So I know this isn't Microsoft Teams, but when you mentioned it, Maria, I thought it was worth showing this to people.
Mm-hmm. I used this for creating our graduation cover recently.
Yeah, it's just
Brochure,
so easy. And let's see how long this is going to take. Hopefully not long. Usually this is really quick, but since I'm running Zoom at the same time, it might be a little slower. But it lets you put a little phrase on the screen. It lets you choose from a bunch of free pictures. There's a lot of templates that you could use. And so I can just come here and I want to have just a banner on it. And I want to use a little template so that it looks like this. And then I can just quickly add the words, choose from different pictures, and then save it and post the image anywhere. So if you're looking to have a, instead of it saying midnight hike, I want to go on a vowel search, let's say. And then I can, that's our primary words. I can have secondary words. I can change the fonts and everything. And I can add a photo. And I can choose free photos. And I have no idea what's going to come up when I say vowel, but it gave me something. And I want to add it to the collage, or I want to move it freely. And once I have everything designed the way that I want to, and this is just going to be ugly, but I'm going to leave it that way. You could replace pictures, throw pictures away, add more pictures. I can just download this. And then once it's downloaded, I can bring it into any program at all. So Adobe Spark is really neat that way. And as I was mentioning, when you're in Adobe Spark, the other projects that you could build would be a free web page or a free video. So that's a really fun thing to play with as a teacher. And then with students, they can also create these things really easily. So thanks for mentioning that as well, Maria.
That's free for educators and students. Yeah, we did the collage. In fact, that was the social studies computer project with Laura and I. Was a collage in Adobe Spark.
So I'm going to turn it over to you all. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts as you're listening to this that you'd like to ask Maria or Laura?
Hi.
Yeah,
She's a noisemaker in the background.
What a cutie.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Pat.
All right. Understand we're working with a dinosaur brain that I am trying so hard to pull out of that prehistoric era. But just, and Anne or Maria or Laura, I'm having a trouble understanding as I go through all these classes. Just basically, okay, we have basically Google Classrooms now and Microsoft Teams. Okay,
Right.
so those are those two things. Within those, we have Seesaw, like we talked about, and yada yada. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, if we can meet video-wise on Google Meets, or we can meet video-wise on Microsoft Teams, what is the point of having a third Zoom company be connected? Isn't that like overlapping
That's
abilities?
an interesting, yeah, that's an interesting question. Maria, what do you think about that?
Well, I personally, I used the Teams. For me, it worked well. But what happened is people wanted, initially with Teams, they only showed 4 people, okay, that's not enough to see 4 faces. I mean, the whole Microsoft community was chatting away with Microsoft. You need to add more views, okay? You need to add more views. People are jumping to Zoom because you can see everybody. You can, scroll through everybody. So they did get up until 9. However, I know Laura can speak to this. She wanted to see more than 9.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I taught, I was always sharing the screen, so I wasn't actually watching the students to begin with. So Teams was fine for me. For a teacher that needs to see all their students at once, Zoom was better for that. That's what I, was hearing basically.
I use Zoom most of the time because I teach literature and social studies, and especially literature, I do class discussions. So it was awkward to just see a little, just a few kids. In Zoom, I was able to see everybody. I still had the chat option, right? What I ended up doing is I would create my Zoom meeting and I would post the link inside Teams. So that would be just the classes got it. I didn't even send it by email. I would just copy the URL for my Zoom meeting, post it into Teams, enable the waiting room, and the only people who would get there would be the students anyway. I would use it that way. That's the only thing. And even if you're sharing screen in Zoom, right, you still have on the side, you can still have the bar. So I could still be scrolling up and down and still looking at the kids, even if I'm sharing a screen and doing a presentation or anything else. So that it doesn't overtake it, right? And Teams, once you share the screen, that's all you see is that screen. In Zoom, you're able to see it, but you still can scroll up and down, and that's what I would do, and look through the students anyway in the chat at the same time.
Okay, so it's like an enhanced meeting. You can
Right,
enhance
exactly,
the meeting
because
that
you're able to
in,
see
whichever
more.
one you're in.
If you have more students, yeah, then you're able to see more kids.
Okay, then I just have another quick question for you, Anne. Do you see the Archdiocese at some point funneling into one or the other?
Never. Yeah, we'll never do that because there's so many different situations going on in all our schools.
Okay.
Right now we have 97 schools and some have certain devices and some have other devices. And if we said everybody needs to do one thing or another, there's going to be 50% of the schools who are going to say that just won't work. So every principal really works with the teacher to decide what's best.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Okay.
But at least you
Just
get a
wanted to know if there
flavor.
was one thing I should be studying harder than the other. But
No, whatever is going on in your school is really the best way to go because that's where you're getting your primary support. But I'm glad that you just stopped in to learn a little bit about what this word means. And Renee, I think you had a question too?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said that you didn't really use Classroom, so I don't know. I mean, just from watching it, it seems a little similar. There are some things that I like about it that Google just doesn't do. So I mean, I'm just kind of wondering what your opinion is between Classroom and such. Because I've been using Classroom. Our school wants to have everyone with Google Classroom. But I'm just kind of curious what you guys think.
Right. Can I ask, what did you think is missing from Classroom that you noticed that we were sharing with?
Well,
you?
for one thing, the Zoom thing, like the fact that you can really chat with your kids, because
Yes.
when I'm using Classroom, it's just like private comments and things like that, which is okay. But I really like that it's a chat feature. I think that's really nice. It's because it's annoying with the emails. That was one thing I really liked about it.
But did you use Google Meet?
I have used Google Meet before. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like, why would I use Google Meet if everyone's already using like Zoom?
Well, that was my question. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just kind of, I mean, it just seems kind of similar. I mean, I could see it sort of working, but I don't know. I was just kind of wondering if you think there's more of an advantage or disadvantage between the two, because it's kind of, I don't know. It's not like that. I don't know, that different. I just want to know if there's like a clear advantage or disadvantage between the two.
I mean, the chat feature, I mean, I don't send emails to the kids, basically. It's rare that I send an email, only if they send an email to me. And that's kind of to teach them how to send an email, basically, is why I get most of the emails. But other than that, I've been chatting with them, and you can it's very easy to open up a chat with a student anytime, and they see it right away and either can chat right back with you at any time during the day. They were chatting with us in the evening because we were sitting at our machines, and it'd be saying, just chatting, where is your word cited page? And that feature was yes, a blessing and a curse in disguise, because seems like we always had to be available 24/7, you know what I mean? Which every teacher I know was experiencing anyway, but
with Classroom, they can send you messages through Google Classroom too, which, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, it's not exactly a chat, but I mean, I'm sitting there already. I know they're messaging me. I can just message them back and everything.
okay.
But
I'm sorry. I like the chat, and also you saw that we can do the video conference with them at any time or the phone call. A few times I did a video conference with the parents because they were having trouble with, how does my kid do this? I can't find the assignment or whatever it is, and you can share the screen with the parent and everybody right there from the chat. And you just have the video conference and you troubleshoot, especially now because we were, virtual learning, remote learning. It was one of the things that I thought was really useful. Was that
that's
you
the
could
thing
do
that
that.
I find useful about looking at this Microsoft Teams is that that ability to kind of just conference like that. Like, I feel like, especially because you're saying that it can't really take more than 4 people, I feel like it's really mostly helpful for small group stuff, which I'd be totally okay with doing. Like, if I needed to do small group instruction with my 7th and 8th graders, this is probably what I'm going to end up using. And then Classroom and Zoom is for the class. But
Remind me what grade you teach, Renee.
I teach 7th and 8th grade.
And just out of curiosity, did you ever do breakout rooms in Zoom with the kids, or you didn't try that?
Yeah, breakout rooms was fine.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
And let me just take a look if there's
Oh,
anybody else who seems to have questions.
Yeah, the Teams app, some of the kids, for 6th through 8, they have the bring your own laptop, so they all had it, but the 4th and 5th grade, some of them had it on the iPad. A couple of the teachers downloaded the team app on the phone. So when they were chatting, they had the team app on the phone. When we were packing up student things, so we had the cell phone, and I would do a video call. Is this your things for me to pack in your bag? And is this your book? Did you put it here and there? So you could do that. That was useful too. So for the laptop, the iPad, the tablet, the phone, all apps.
Right, and you can
You can
use
access
it from
everything.
a browser too, so you could
Mhm.
do
Right.
it in Chrome or
Right.
Firefox or whatever you like, Edge.
Mhm.
But Renee, for Teams, you would need 2 emails. If you're doing Google Classroom and a Microsoft, I believe you're going to need two
Yeah, that's where it gets rough, Renee,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
you'd almost have to go into it as a school and then you would have, because the school has to set up Microsoft, so
Right.
it's not impossible. And the other thing that you might want to talk with your principal about and your tech integration specialist is you could ask them to turn on the chat in Google just for your students, because they can do it by student name. And so you could use the Google chat if you wanted to do that, but the principal has to make sure that it fits in with your acceptable use policy and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense too. That's likely because right now the kids are using Chromebooks, which is going to be more Microsoft compatible. The teachers are all using MacBooks, so it probably really wouldn't work to have teachers using Microsoft products on Mac stuff. But
Yeah, it gets a little complicated when you're
Yes.
trying to juggle too much.
yeah,
But at least you know what this looks like now. It's
yeah.
something to see.
It reminds me of like the Blackboard system. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. That's what it
From
reminds
colleges.
me of.
Yep.
But yeah.
Okay, well, what I'm going to do, it's about 5 to 10 right now. So I'm going to invite you to stay if you have some more questions. And otherwise, thank you as always for joining me. I think pretty much everybody who's been on the call has already seen this, but feel free over the summer to join any of my different groups that are online. I have an early childhood Facebook group, a Facebook group for all teachers, a Facebook group for admins and principals. Also, I'm right now really kept busy at the school's office with some work that's going on there, but over the course of the next weeks into the summer, I'm editing these Zoom conversations, and so they'll all be up on that YouTube channel. So feel free to take a picture of the screen or a screen capture or write it down. If you have questions, talk to your tech integration specialist and principal at the school, but I'm always here if you have extra questions that you just want to address to me. So Laura and Maria, thank you so much for being our expert today. I know that you still have questions that you're trying to answer for your school, but Maria, you and I will see what we learn with Alice Keeler and certainly bring that back to anybody who's interested early in the next school year.